I'm with Councilor Andre Rivette here in Cornwall, Ontario. Councilor Rivette, what's the role of a city councillor in Cornwall?
The role of city councillor is to make policy, and administration is to follow the policies put out by council.
And for the really unclear people out there, how do you define policies? Is it how the city conducts itself?
The policy is how what they perceive as needed to run the organization. Could be how we're going to clean the streets many times a year, or how if we're going to spend money in a certain park, many parks we need, stuff like that. So basically, we come in and set how the corporation is going to run, and individual policies are drafted to address that, and it's approved by council, and administration is to adhere to those policies.
Now, city management is critical in being a resource and a support for you guys to be able to set policy. You ask them for reports, you ask them for information, you rely on them, but it's not their job to set policy, correct?
That's correct, totally correct.
Okay. Now, would the CAO be considered part of council?
No.
Is the CAO considered like management, just like, say, Stephen Alexander or Norm Levac?
Well, he's a little higher than that. He's the CEO of the corporation.
Right, but he's still considered management.
An employee of council.
Okay. We're looking at this policy that was originally created, I think, in 2003 or 2006?
2003, which the original policy was put forward, which I moved. And it was seconded by Councilor Dennis Carr at the time.
Can you just briefly read that?
Sure. It states that be it resolved that seniority rights among all temporary and part-time employees become a written policy of the corporation, and that all rights under the seniority clause be adhered to after the employee's 90-day probation period. That administration be instructed to draft a policy on a proposal and a resolution for discussion to the next council meeting, which they did, and which it was endorsed. Human Resource Report was endorsed on the September 11, 2000.
So in layman's terms, what was that policy that you created?
At the time, there was a lot of people who seemed to be getting jobs, and people who have been around in this and working as a temporary for 5, 10, sometimes 15 years at the time, and were never given the opportunity or recognized as long-term service with the corporation. Therefore, they never had a chance to get a full-time position.
And you being a past city manager yourself in Parks and Recreation, I'm sure you're close to that issue.
Well, as Parks and Landscape Supervisor, yes, I was close to that issue. I didn't hire him, and I believe this is the right thing to do, is to use the seniority rights, and again, as long as they meet the quality, they can do the job, meet the qualification needed for the job.
Now, you recently discovered that the City of Cornwall has been practicing a completely different policy that never came to council.
Yes, I was approached about a month ago by a city employee who has been there 11 years and asked me why are they being asked to fill this, what they call a talent questionnaire. And this is the only, 234 has approximately, the numbers are a little over 100 of 500 and some employees full-time we have in the city. And they are the only one, any temp would be asked to fill this kind of a questionnaire.
And what type of jobs are these for?
These are for entry jobs. Could be grass cutting, could be any kind of entry level. It could be somebody working in the sewer on the trenches and stuff like that. So these are not supervisory jobs.
So what is this new policy that was created without council's knowledge?
Well, the new policy is basically what's happening now is any employee who are part-time or temporary, doesn't matter the length of time, they have to pass this questionnaire, and which in turn would be sent to the consultant, and the consultant would correct it and then send a report back to Human Resources to tell them which one is the best candidate. And I have a concern with that because anybody working for any corporation or any supervisor, their yearly evaluation should give them exactly what they need to be able to choose from any number of candidates for a full-time position.
Are these questions related to the actual professions that these people would be applying to advance in?
No, and it doesn't make any sense to me. I really don't know, and I think that...
Can you give us an example of one of the questions?
Well, one of the questions is, they want you to rank until you have ordered all the phrases from most to least, repeat the process completely. It's hard to explain, and I think that you'd have to post it and let people look at it themselves.
Okay.
I tell you personally, myself, I don't think I'd pass it because I don't know what it's all about, and we can't get any information from HR to tell us what it's all about.
So how did this come into play? If it didn't go through council, how did it, and this, you said this has been going on now for how many years?
3 years.
And what is the cost involved to the city of Cornwall in something like this?
Well, the cost involved is for each individual applying for a full-time position in 234 only, not the rest of the city. 234 cost is $125 every time an employee applies for a full-time position, which the corporation picks up. And that's what the consultant charges. And then if you had 10 people applying, you'd pay $125 for each person. Then you'd have to, the corporation pays $250 for a written report ranking the candidates based on their assessment. I mean, this is not supervisory jobs. These are entry-level jobs, and I firmly believe that they're being discriminated against because of they're the only union and employees in the corporation being asked to do this, and I just can't understand council endorsing this. And
Do you have any idea how many potential applicants or employees this involves, or a total rough amount of money that would have been spent by the city?
Well, from what I don't know. I know for setting up, we were told last night, it cost them, with meeting with the consultant and that, started off 3 years, we're told, $10,585. And then you got this running cost after $125 per, every time somebody writes this for a full-time position.
So where does the buck stop on this? Someone had to initiate this and someone had to okay it.
Well, the information I received last night when I asked the question, how come, this is not a policy of council. The council's policy was very clear. Why was this thing not, why was council not asked to adopt this thing? And I was told that by the CAO that we implement that to help us. It's another tool we use to get where we want to go or to implement this.
So he doesn't consider, Mr. Fitzpatrick doesn't consider it a policy?
No, he does not consider this policy. And he was told, we were told that last night in open council. This is not. But what bothered me a bit is some of the councillors around the table, when they stood up to talk, referred it as a policy, and that's when I got up and clarified. I said, this can't be a policy because the council passes the policies, and this thing was not passed by council.
That's amazing. So what is the solution now?
It is.
So this is Mr. Fitzpatrick implementing this. That's where the buck stops.
Well, the bottom line is, this thing had to be approved, and it was approved by the CAO to be implemented.
If it came to a vote in council, an open council, would you vote to continue this?
No, I voted last night, Doctor. I voted last night to kill this thing and go back to the initial seniority rights and most qualified for the job.
So where's the accountability on this issue?
Well, as far as I'm concerned, there's no accountability being done in this issue. I still believe the council, first of all, should send a message. You don't change any policies we adopt without coming back to us. You do not adjust or add or delete anything from a policy that has been approved by council.
So how does the taxpayer find out who made these changes to spend more of their taxpayer dollars? If a taxpayer was unhappy with this decision, what's being done, how could they find out why it was done and who did it and why they're spending their dollars this way?
Well, initially I would say, first place I would call is the mayor's office requesting that from, information is being spent without council approval. And, as far as changing a policy. And right now I'd have to say council, the taxpayer calls council because council approved this thing last night.
So this almost sounds like ghost policy.
Exactly what it is. And it's not
stuff that's happening. You have no idea where it's coming from.
That's great. That's right. And I think that this has got to stop. When council puts a policy forward, there should be no amendments or deletions from that policy without the authorization of the city.
So someone stops in the street and says, "I heard you spent $10,000 to set up with a consultant to do this testing. And you're paying $125 a pop for the test, plus the whatever 200 and something to get the results." What do you tell them?
Well, I tell them first of all, I'm totally not in favor of this. I think it's a waste of dollars. And I would say, it was a recorded vote last night. I requested on it. So call the clerk's office, find out who voted for it, and call them. And let them know how you feel.
And what if they says, "How could this happen? How could you let this happen?"
I tried to deal with it last night, telling him that you know, and I'm the one who made the motion at the last council meeting under new business to bring this thing up for discussion.
Because they're going to be incredulous. How could something be going on for 3 years and you not know about it? You're a councillor. They elected you.
Well, you know, I didn't know about it till somebody complained about it to me. And then once it complained, and then, you know, if something happens in the community that's not right, once it's related to a councillor, it's his job to address it and find out what the problem is.
Do you hold Mr. Fitzpatrick responsible for this?
Well, I don't want to go back, no, because it was passed by council last night. Council endorsed what he did. So the bottom line is, if you'd asked me before council meeting, I said, yeah, we knew nothing about it. And maybe the CAO should have been brought it back to us, and it should have. There's no question. It should have been come back to us if they're going to amend something. As far as the right now, council has endorsed it, and I think that the recorded voter show who endorsed it, and that's where you're going to go.
Where's the accountability then? Where's the buck stop?
Well, in this case, the only way council has to stand up and make people accountable. I can't do it, and as an individual, I can't do that. You can bring it to council. Council has to decide whether or not they want to make the people accountable who are making these changes without their knowledge. And according to last night, council endorsed it. So, you know, your guess is as good as mine. Why?
Because even with the Manah situation, the council issued a press release to the city saying that this is a deal we've reached and we're giving them $300,000. And obviously you can't say a lot about it because it's one of those, it's a personnel issue and there's legal issues. But even something that, you know, that controversial, the public has the information on how it happened, how it took place. And yet, something like this, we're just guessing.
Well, you know, and if anybody watched council last night, I was visually very upset, mm-hmm. and I got to say that there's a couple of councillors, you know, the newer councillors, surprised me, understood what I was saying and endorsed it. So I don't know why it was done that way.
So who's running?
But I think we're sending the wrong message to allow administration to amend or add to any policies of the city corporation or us knowing about it.
Does this go back to, and you've brought it up before, and Leslie has brought it up before when he was on council, does this go to the heart of the problem of, or the heart of the question of who was running the show?
Well,
at the city. And is council's authority being usurped by administration?
If you're telling me in this case the tail wagged the dog, yes it did.
Well, Andre, as a taxpayer here in Cornwall, when you get your tax bill for your home and you see what people talk about, which is of course a different role than as a city councillor, do you think right now under Mr. Fitzpatrick's watch as the chief administrative officer, are the residents of Cornwall getting a fair shake tax-wise?
I would pass on that. Okay. You know, I don't want to get into that. I think that am I upset as a taxpayer? You're damn right I am. You know, and it's not only attack everybody in the corporation city, everybody in the resident in the city of Cornwall are taxpayers, because if they're renting, their rent goes up to offset that tax that the landlord is paying. So everybody should be.
But a lot of city managers don't live in the city of Cornwall, I believe, including Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Well, that I don't want to go there. I mean, we can't force them to live wherever they can live wherever they want.
Mr. Fitzpatrick's contract is up in 2013. Would you, as a city councillor, vote to extend his contract or give him another term?
I would like to deal with that publicly. I think that they're very. I think it's very clear to the CAO evaluation committee for the last 3 years what I thought. I don't want to discuss this in a public forum. I think that there's places to do that.
What would worry me as a taxpayer when you look and see that you're upset how something happened 3 years ago without council's knowledge, without your knowledge, and has continued for that long, what would worry me as a taxpayer is, this is just what you found out, what you know. How much stuff is going on that you don't know about?
That's a good question. And I can't give you an answer to that, because the only way I can address any issues is when they come to my attention, and once I review it and find out that it's not what council is not a council directive or a council policy, then I can question it and bring it to council. But again, it's up to council if they accept this doing this. I can bring it up if they accept the way it was done. I said the majority rules. There's nothing I can do.
But is this the tip of the iceberg? Do you think there's more stuff that's going on that's being kept from council? And that goes back to the whole thing with Leslie as well, saying the council's not getting the information from the administration.
You know, I can't comment on that because I really don't know. I mean, like as I said, you know, I hope not. Let me put it that way. I hope not, because we don't need more issues and more costs to the corporation.
Andre, as a city councillor, has anybody approached you about communications they've sent to you that you've never received?
No, but I was told by Councilor O'Shaughnessy, and I didn't know, and I was told by someone else, another councillor, that there was information and envelopes that were sent to council and we didn't get them. I don't know. I just, you know, I'm being told what by some of the other council's concerns, but I don't have it. You know, I haven't got, I never got the envelopes, so I didn't know whether or not I was going to get it.
Just, it's a hypothetical question. If administration is usurping the power of council, if administration is overturning or changing council policy without your knowledge or permission, then what really can you do as a taxpayer or a councillor? If you're going to make the decisions and they're just going to be changed without your knowledge.
Well, all I can tell you is, you know, if it's being changed without my knowledge, the only thing I can do is bring it up to the council's attention and address it and voice my concerns that this is happening.
Do you get frustrated?
Council has to make the decision what they want to do about it.
Do you get frustrated when an incident like this happens and basically this policy has been back supported by members of council? Like they don't even take into account the seriousness of this sort of behavior?
It bothers me greatly. I think it's one of those things that we, as a council, we have to send a clear message that what you can and what you can't do to administration, and if you know, they have to understand the ramifications of doing that, because and I said it before. I mean, if nobody takes charge to make sure this is happening, it's only going to continue.
Now, you didn't go to the last governance meeting, but you've been to other governance meetings.
Yes.
Is this kind of behavior covered in governance education?
Well, they did, you know, praising and letting you what the administration should be doing, what a council should be doing, and I agree. This is, you know, it's great in theory, but the bottom line, when it doesn't work, it's up to council, who is totally responsible for the dollars and the residents of the corporation, that we have to take charge, and we have to make sure it's being done the way it's supposed to be done. We can't have the dog or the tail wagging the dog.
With all your years of council experience, can you imagine any reason why another councillor would blanketly support an incident like this?
I don't know. You'd have to ask the councillors who are endorsing it. I really couldn't tell you.